Marcita, Touli. Congratulations for our presentation yesterday. I'm such a fan of you. I was so happy because an emotion brings you to talk here in Brazil, and you have such amazing projects, and I want to talk about it. So.
Thank you so much for all your lovely comments. It's a pleasure to be here. It's such an amazing festival. I'm so excited.
How was your first experience working? What your first jobs and this kind of things?
That's a lovely question, actually. So, to be honest, I didn't really last long working in studios, and there was nothing wrong with the studios. I loved the teams, the projects, and everything. It was just me that I wanted to just work by myself, do the thing that I actually want to do, decide what I want to do every day. So my very first job was in an interior design studio in London, and I worked as the graphic designer, the only graphic designer, so I had to do all kind of from managing the projects all the way to produce any kind of prints, all the way to web design, branding. So literally everything on that studio. It was very, very good as a starting point because I had to learn so much to run everything by myself in the beginning. Later on, we formed a team, so I was leading the team already. So it was a very good experience as a starting point. But yeah, as I said, I didn't really last long. It was just 10 months, and then I quit, and then my next job was 6 months. Then the last one was just 3 months. Yeah, that was all my working years, I would say, in studios around, so yes.
I see that you are not just a graphic design or a 3D artist. You are the pure word of artist. You create things with meanings, and I would like to know, how do you find projects that are more artists if you go to the client, or if the client find you, and how do you deal with commercial works and artwork? I would like to know your process.
So usually it's the classic thing that everyone says, you're getting hired for what you already created. So you have to show what you want to do more of, and then people will approach you to do more of that. And that involves, of course, when you have a client kind of project, I try to push as much as I can and put as much as experimentation as I can towards that. And it might be I'm presenting 3 routes. So one would be very conservative, classic route. The other would be super experimental, and then something in between. So I can show the client, okay, we have the safe solution that you feel confident with, but there is also this extreme in case you're up for experimenting. Because even if you talk them through, sometimes they won't get it. It's important to just show them and push yourself. And then, of course, the other thing is to keep and have self-initiated projects and passion projects that you can explore and experiment things that you want to do more of. So you can show what you can do, and then people will come and ask you to do more of that. So yeah.
When you don't have commercial works, do you create your own ideas and you work on it without any budget, or how do you do this?
Yeah, so very often the self-initiated projects will be with 0 budget or with a tiny bit of budget. Or sometimes I try to always be involved in community things, which means sometimes there are initiatives involving design for climate, environment, or anything like that. That's often I receive invitations to be part of them. I really enjoy to take them as a challenge to do this experimentation while being part of something that is quite important and giving something back rather than just doing something that doesn't really have a concept or a point, if that makes sense. But there are also occasions that I just want to experiment, so I'm just going to be oh, this weekend I just want to play around. And it's not always that you have to have the greatest budget or anything. It's start with what you have and you'll figure it out as you go. It doesn't need the perfect camera, the phones nowadays are amazing to capture whatever you need. It doesn't need the perfect computer. Just if you want to make it happen, you're gonna make it happen, if that makes sense.
Nice. It's different when you the rate for commercial works and the works that you do for more personal, but it's also for a client, a project. It's different the way you do a budget. Do you usually do it for day rate or full project budget?
I usually work in a budget project, so I like to be involved from the very beginning till the end of the project. I rarely do little parts of that, if that makes sense. So it's usually terms of budget, full budget for the project, but it's always based on kind of trying to calculate how long it's gonna take me, and then based on my day rate, I can calculate around how much it's the project gonna cost and everything. But it's always relative. Sometimes it happens I'm trying always to have a project that is also at the same time might be a low budget one, but it's also a passion project. So it's not necessarily that I will not accept because it's not on the rate something. If it's something that it's important or it feels quite fun or it's something kind of like my dream to work on, like I did the other day for Videosita, those kinetic typography pieces, and it was like something that I really wanted to do, to try and do like kinetic typography for bigger like projection installations, trying to be within budget, but sometimes you also do projects that they're a bit out, but it's something, they give you back something else, I would say.
What are your hobbies outside work?
Okay, so I have quite a lot of them, I would say, and I'm really into like sports kind of things, which involves all the way from like running to, yes, so, oh, that's great. Yeah, so running, preparing for marathon again now, cycling, I'm doing gymnastics, dancing. So quite a lot of different sports, if that makes sense. And then I'm always like, outside work, I'm still creating, but different things, which means like it can be all the way like from like furniture design for my house, like, and more like hands-on things, but not necessarily like graphics, if that makes sense.
Do you develop different kind of work? Sometimes you have to learn a new software and you do it, like you accept doing this kind of things that you mix new softwares, new process. So I'd like to understand more about it.
So I always love like trying like new techniques, new materials, new softwares, new technologies. So I really like exploring new possibilities, if that makes sense. I used to devote like half an hour every day, my first thing in the morning, to like watch a tutorial or learn somehow a new skill, which lately I'm quite bad following that schedule, so I need to get back on that. But I feel like it's always important to not just get comfy with what you know and what you're doing, but push yourself to explore new things, new possibilities. And I guess that's also the exciting part. I'm like getting easily bored if I would just repeat myself and recreate what I already did, you know? So I want to like always try new things.
I'm curious about the process. Like you start personal projects and then someone saw this personal project and invite you. What was the first project that was your face, your style, that someone invited you? Do you remember?
That's quite hard. I don't really remember because it's kind of like this style developed for me by itself without really realizing it, if that makes sense. So I cannot really pinpoint like a starting point or something, but one of like big projects that I did that it was involving like hands-on was like for Z by HP, and they invited me to like create a kind of like little commercial little ad for one of their laptops. I used like my liquid like techniques, mixing like oil-based and water-based liquids to do the intro, and then like different techniques for the rest. So it was one of like the biggest projects that I can remember that was in the quite starting point of exploring, experimenting. But it's very often also that the clients will just come with a project and I will go ahead and propose them that I'm gonna do hands-on, I'm gonna do that. It's not necessarily that they will come to me and be like, oh, I really want that technique or something. So it might be like even broad, just send me like a couple of references from my portfolio and I'm just gonna propose something from there or something totally different that just came to my mind. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I could be talking to you the whole day. So thank you to talk and thank you to come to Brazil.
Let's get scratching.